Welcome. Northstar here with another episode of my Citizen Sleeper Let's Play. I should have this properly configured on OBS now, I believe. It's been a little bit since I played this. It's been... Whoa, okay, I set the volume a little too high. It's been tough. I've had particularly low energy lately with my long COVID. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to face this situation, this disease, knowing there will likely never be a cure, not because one isn't possible, but because our society doesn't seem to give a damn about anyone who isn't rich and powerful. So, actually investing in a cure for long COVID? That might not be something society does for a while. Sometimes it's just hard to face them. I was close to being a physician. I put in the work to get to med school. I had not given up after countless setbacks. And then after all that, a freaking plague hits, COVID, and it leaves me disabled. And society just won't put in the money to research a cure. And then we got 65 million people around the world at least. That was an early count. It's probably over 80 million now, disabled like this. If you care about other people, try and get something done about that. Pressure politicians to fund medical research into it. Anyways, so I'm back, though I've worked up the will to continue this video series, and I apologize for the delay for anyone who's been waiting. Now that here's Rico, I gave her some black cap mushrooms. She stayed them. Now there's an event to talk to her. Rico is at her bench, running small vials of some liquid through an old chemical analysis machine. The whirring of the spinning drum fills the lab with white noise. And you aren't sure if she notices you approach. Spinning drum, that would imply it's a centrifuge. That's what you call, if I remember correctly, laboratory centrifuge, what you call the part you put in a sample. Anyways, Sleeper, it's good to see you. She looks up smiling. This little project of ours has been keeping me awake the past few cycles. But right now, well, I think I have something. You should rest. I know my limits. She laughs to herself. I just don't like paying attention to them. The drum finishes spinning. I should say that's familiar. Sometimes I push myself too hard with my long COVID. Often. I know my limits. I just don't always pay attention to them. The drum finishes spinning, and Rico lifts a vial from it, holding it up to the light. This is something I extracted from those club heads you've been bringing me. And according to my analysis, is a substance totally unique on the Greenway. You look at the small amount of liquid in the vial. Any idea what it might be? Rico asks, without looking away from the vial. No idea. You aren't the first sleeper to come through here. Perhaps I should have mentioned that earlier. Rico's tone suddenly drops. Changing the atmosphere in the lab immediately. I just thought, she pauses, thinking very carefully of how to continue. I just wanted you to trust us. What do you mean? She sighs. They came through a fair They came through a fair few cycles ago. We found them wandering in the broken section near the gap. The members who brought them in had never seen one of you before. They were terrified of this strange person wandering in from open vacuum. They were quieter than you and damaged. We did our best to patch them up and welcome them to the commune. I only spoke to them once, while I was working on their wounds along with a couple of systems engineers. She looks nervously at you. I'd never seen a body like that before. Excuse me. I took some readings. Some samples. Samples? You have to understand, I was curious. I didn't know what I was looking at. I just took a little of the damaged material, less than a thumbnail. She shifts her weight to her crutch. The next cycle they were gone. They took little food and hiked up towards the wild margins, where the Greenway meets the waste. Someone saw them in the distance, but that was it. They disappeared into the overgrowth. Sorry, glasses issue. That would be the one I found with the mercenary before. She sits down heavily, the vial in her hand. When I saw you, I wanted things to be different. I wanted to keep you here, rather than let you disappear into wherever they ended up. Inside a ship mind. I guess. She smiles to herself. Yes, I wanted to understand this place better, but I also wanted to help you. It seems that somehow, both my wishes have come true at once. She holds out a hand with the vial. This is for you. You take the stabilizer, the glass cold and smooth in your palm. Okay. My character had the option to guess it was stabilizer, but she never said it. How? She never said it was stabilizer. Right. Those club head caps made it for you. Or at least two or whatever made those club heads. She starts to clear a bench. It was right there, contained in the tissue. I only had to extract it. I imagine you understand how incredible that is. I learned enough from that sleeper to know that your body, your frame it runs on some exotic technology. Exotic technology that has a time limit built in. Somehow, the Greenway knows that too. It understands your physiology much better than I ever could. It knows how to treat you. Just like that miraculous antidote sprung from the mold. So too has this sprung from your presence here. The Greenway is speaking to you. It is welcoming you. She looks up. I know it sounds crazy, but I know it to be true. Here's the evidence. And what I also know is it is no longer speaking to me. Even after decades here, I've never seen this kind of response. Not since the antidote so many cycles ago. She smiles. So I'm going to make you a deal. You bring me as many club heads as you like. I'll extract the stabilizer and give it to you, freely. But you have to tell me what the Greenway says. You have to speak with it, to dig into it, to find what being is at the center of it. I've traveled as far as I can. I need you to do the rest. Can you do that? Yes. Rico sighs with relief and deflates into her chair. Thank you. I'm sorry for the other sleeper. Truly I am. I'm sorry I couldn't have done more. But I'm so glad I met you. She smiles. You're welcome here, anytime. Rico falls silent. She looks smaller now, more fragile. And you realize how old she must be to have seen the collapse firsthand. You idle a little in the lab, in case she asks for anything else, but she remains silent, and so you drift back into the tunnel. Thoughts of that other sleeper, and where they ended up, weighing on your mind. Wonder if that could have turned out differently if I had done this first. If that would have given me different interactions, maybe. And drive complete. Work for a buyer. No, that's not it. That's the enforcer. Help Rico's experiments. Here's Rico's grow beds, and there's also the labs where I can stabilize their synthesis, 2 club heads each. With a couple of club head caps, Rico can extract the miraculous stabilizer they produce. It's a hard thing to believe. And for grow beds, the only way to understand what the gardener gave you is to grow it. Rico is incredibly excited by the prospect. Plant the seed. Eight cycles for it to grow. The seed is planted, and Rico is an attentive mother to it. What future is forming there? Gardener's gift. That's what it was labeled. Why is that still in red? Weird. Alright. And Nikita. Talk to Nikita about what happened. You spot Nikita on the track to the farm stack. She has a box on her shoulder and is working her way down the slope. She sees you as she approaches. Neither of you speak for a moment. She looks tired, pale. Her hair is tangled, and clumps of dirt cling to her armor. You both eye each other. Nikita, she holds up a hand. Sleeper, she takes a deep breath. I'm sorry for what happened. True, I am. She looks down. I'm sorry you end up in the middle of this, when all you have shown me is kindness. She rubs her face. I'm sorry. It's okay. She nods, then looks up to the stars. She stops herself. Thank you. Nikita shifts the weight of the box on her shoulder. I've been preparing for... She grimaces. Look, she sighs. Can you come with me? It's easier if... If what? You see it, she finishes. It's just down the way. And Nikita leads on down the dirt path between the pillars. There is a wind passing through the Greenway, a quirk of the air currents the biosphere maintains, and it ruffles the leaves softly. The sound makes the silence more obvious, more complete. You try not to think of the last time you were here. You've been trying not to think of it for the past few cycles. The image of the sleeper, sprawled, twisted open, connected to the ship mind, has been hard to forget. You realize Nikita is leading you back there, back into the drum at the center of the stack. You pause, trembling a little, at the threshold. She turns. What are you doing? She looks at you with empty eyes. What needs to be done? You stand on the threshold and look up at the tanks, green and wet, some glowing with flickering grow lamps. You look down on Kita, suddenly so small under this hulking rune. The smallest she has ever looked. She places the box down. Follow her in. You follow Nkita into the stack, through a low tank, entering the drum at ground level. It is just as beautiful as you remember, but it barely touches you. Instead, you check the apertures of the tanks for the glint of a weapon or a shadow among the moss. Nkita stops, and you look down. The mossy island at the center of the tank is clear now, and the equipment cleared away. In its place is a mound of dirt, loosely covered with moss. Ashton's rifle stands straight, half buried in the dirt at the grave's head. I buried them together, Nkita says, without turning. You both stand there in silence for a little while. You think of questions you could ask. About Ashton, about the sleeper. Curious about the sleeper. Was the sleeper dead? Or how long did you know him? Was the sleeper dead? She takes a moment to respond, and for a moment you think she won't, but then the words come gushing out. Their body was long dead. That much was obvious. After you left, I checked them, but there was nothing. No signal, no function. The ship mine was the same. Dead. I don't know if Ashton's plan would have worked. He seemed desperate, but that doesn't mean it wasn't. She pauses, unsure how to continue. I don't think he was lying, but you have to understand. I've had crew members double-cross me, undercut me, rat me out. That's the business. He wasn't a good person. None of us in this job are. And this is how we die. Alone. I'm sorry they had to die too. She stops, not sure of what to add. It seems like she is reaching for something, but she can't quite get there. You feel that gap between you, and as you do, it widens. The water drips. The moss trembles. You both stand in silence for a while longer. You both feel it. Life creeping back in. The silence ending. Nkita shifts her weight and then starts to walk out. You follow her, suddenly eager to be back out in the open space of the Greenway, to be away from this place forever. You stand outside and breathe the fresh air. You stare at the green leaves and the stars wheeling above them. That's it, says Nkita from somewhere behind you. You try to think of something to say, but can't. Nkita puts a hand on your shoulder. I could think of something to say. I would have liked to ask her how she knew Ashton now. Both questions are important. You turn back to her. At least take this. She forces a handful of cryochits into your hands. It's what I owe. She looks at you desperately. You look down at the metal bars. Ugly little things, you think. Drop the chits. You open your hand and let the chits fall to the floor. They clunk into the dirt, and she does not pick them up. You turn without saying a word and continue up the track. She does not fall. As you walk up the rise, the wind picks up and the leaves shudder. You walk faster, trying to outpace your anger. You think of those ugly metal bars in the dirt. A life has to be worth more than that. It has to be. I agree. Life is worth more than that. Hmm. Wonder what I'll upgrade with the character with next. It's been a little bit since I played this game. I don't remember exactly what I was. I guess I'll spend a little time visiting the sites again, reminding myself what the things I'm up to were, what my challenges. That's right, there's scrap, which I could do. I have some need to stockpile it for certain occasions, but usually not. It's dangerous work. Very dangerous work, and it's far less profitable than most of the other stuff. So probably not endure, at least not for that. If it's endurance, it'll have to be a different reason. Actually, I can't upgrade endurance until I've done this, so. But engineering, interface, intuition, or engage. Probably interface. That's right, because the Conway thing. I'm all nervous about that. Feels like a boss fight, so I've been putting it off. Do a work assignment at the Haifa Commune. Sleep in the Haifa dorm. Sunbathing. It's definitely not a bad way to get energy, but it's generally better to just buy food. Mushrooms are growing. I do periodically have to get more spores. Oh, I can't. There's a farm stacks I can barter for food. Rabia and Sabine are plotting their revenge against the traitor. The guy who is really working for... The guy who's really working for the mega corporation. Emphas is cooking his stuff up. It's exchange, the dispensary. Nothing else to do with the black head caps, so I don't really need to just use those when I find them to get the stabilizer. I might not need to buy much more from the dispensary. There's the ships that come in periodically, a source of wealth. Habnage offices where I could sell Yadigan data if I wanted. Alright, and here's the bar. Not as good a source of cryo as, say, working in the repair hangar up at the hub. Or for that matter, the freight hub. No, if I have a high roll the interface, I think this 16 cryo, maybe it's the same. 80 cryo for 3 of these mushrooms. They're rare enough that's not worth growing mushrooms for that purpose, but I don't know. Overthinking stuff. And I can cook the caps or the girl ones, but I can sell. It's probably more cost effective to sell. However, I haven't found other uses for the girl. You haven't exactly mastered the art of cooking mushrooms, but a couple of handfuls of fried girls always beats expired rations. Got nothing else I can do with them, I don't think. Yeah, bar shift is an engaged thing, so can give me energy, but interface. Yeah, I think the freight line thing is probably slightly better than the bar shift. Of course, the repair hub is more lucrative. Still, 3 energy for the girl. That's right. It's 2 days of food for 2 mushrooms. Basically, a mushroom a day keeps starvation away. Anyways, I probably don't need to worry about money at this point. I could probably finish the game what I got already. Unless the flotilla is really expensive somehow. Get 19 cryo from High Roll Exchange. That's an Intuit action. We can get scrap from engineering. All interesting. I haven't been up here in a little bit. Bliss's Bay. One last job. Oh, this is new. Moritz has heard Bliss speaking with someone remotely. Is there another job coming in? That or it's going to be some quest type event. Who knows? These stupid capsules. Expensive place to sleep. I don't know why anyone would ever do that. Good thing I stopped by here. I learned there's something new. I have to remember to come back. In terms of a 6, I probably want it on the mushroom groves. Put the high rolls either into collecting spores or foraging for fungus. I might manage to get some matsutakes on a high roll. I forget how likely that is. I guess exploration might have some hidden outcomes, so I'll give it a shot, see if there's anything useful. And just 1 Garol cap, that's it. I rolled a 1 for... Okay, that's really not very useful. But, should have known the odds would not favor it. another Yadigan agent. And sleep with our paired unit. Oh yeah, and feed the cat. Seeing on a ridiculous amount of wealth, I can afford to do it, you know. There's no benefit really. A little generosity to a cute creature. Cool. Think about this though. Foraging for scrap at the edge. Versus black caps are rare. If I'm using stabilizer, it's costing me. If I have to use every 3 days, it's still costing me a little over 21 cryo. Yeah, I guess I should just use Heralds to forage for scrap, after all. Whatever. Let's talk to Emphas. I think there's anything I would do that could cost me only 1 energy. So I'll start by. Emphas is preparing the matsutake caps. He cleans them carefully with a damp cloth, before shaving the stalks as if he was sharpening a pencil. His knife slides through them, revealing the bright white of the flesh within. These are good, sleeper. Very good, he says without looking up. I bartered with Minji for some kelp too, so we can brew the dashi. You know Minji? Emphas looks up from cutting with a smile. Everyone knows Minji. Emphas slides the sliced matsutake caps to one side and takes out a closed pan. He opens the lid and you see the green wafer of kelp sitting in a bath of water. Been soaking it since last cycle, Emphas explains. Should be good to warm now. He places the pan over the burner and turns it on low. We have some time now. He wipes his hands clean and throws the cloth over his shoulder. However, there is one difference this cycle. He smiles. You have been the one providing the ingredients, so it is my turn to provide a story. Okay, good. This story is important to me. He gestures for you to both sit? That would imply Pearl. There's only one of me. On the folding stools. Oh, for both of us to sit. On the folding stools behind the stall. Used to be sharper. I should have gotten that immediately, but my long COVID, I don't think as clearly as I did. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised anyone who's heard me say I was on the verge of becoming a doctor and doesn't somehow think I'm full of it or something. I promise I'm not. You have to be very, very sharp to go that path, and I was incredibly sharp. Not at all like you hear me now. May it be hard to believe, but long COVID can really dumb you down. Anyways, you see these? Emphas runs a hand over his forearm, tracing the circular scars that mark them like perfect bite marks. Conway called it an anchored interface rig, a mechanical control device for piloting a heavy-duty extraction suit in low-G industrial operations. We called it a bone suit. Worth noting, still not entirely dumb, but anyways, bone suit. Why would they call it that? Because it anchored to the bone? Maybe? He points to a pattern of larger circles on his shoulder. They drill in and anchor it here, then all the way down the arm. He taps each scar on the way. It maps mechanical movements to the suit exactly. A 1-to-1 mechanical replication. You swing your arm, a 2-ton arm swings too. You should have seen the recruitment vids. Strong people in even stronger suits, tearing through stone scrap. Superheroes. Half my graduating year signed up, from company school to company shuttle. Conway from birth to death. He stares off into distance for a moment, fighting with the memories. So a lot of people died doing this work, apparently. And learn something more about Conway. But the bone suits weren't good. The rate of failures was high. And failures meant arms torn off, anchors torn out, broken bones, bad stuff. So after a while, Conway discontinued them. No longer competitive, they said. Checks the broth, turn down the heat and adding the mushrooms. So there we were, hundreds of us, with surgical alterations for suits that didn't work. They sent us home, back to that company collie that spat us out, to be cleaners, drivers, cooks. They gave us drugs for the pain and told us to make something of ourselves. When I deserted, bribing some passing spacers to take me into orbit, there were only me and a couple of others left. The rest just faded away. Arthritis, osteoporosis. They folded in on themselves like paper lanterns. That was my generation. The anchor points still ache. Still burn. He touches the scars. But what burns worse is the betrayal. I've been on the eye a long time now, but that will never fade. Not that, and not the faces of my friends. Friends who died. Emphas reaches over and sprinkles a handful of leaves into the broth. It is ready. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was Conway's crime. Another evil corporation. Corporations only pursue profit. They do not put human well-being first. Ever. Remember that. It's an important lesson for life. It's true. If you don't believe so, you have been sticking your head in the sand or not following reality. Don't be. It was Conway's crime, and you know better than most what we went through. It is enough that you are here to listen. Emphas pours the broth into a double-walled metal bowl and hands it to you. The heat radiates through your hands, and the smell drifts up, rich and sharp, like a pine forest after the rain. Nice. Tasty. You drink the broth slowly, chewing the matsutake and thinking. Emphas busies himself with cleaning the pans in the bowl, sealing the kelp back up for another day. Then he quietly comes to sit with you while you finish your meal. Neither of you speak, preferring instead to let the story linger in the air a little longer. It is not that there is nothing to say. It is that sometimes, in the moments after something, speaking breaks the spell. So you both idle, eager to be in each other's company. Emphas taking longer over his cleaning, his packing, and you savoring the final dregs of broth. When you finally finish and hand him the bowl, you feel the spell break and the story leaves you both. As you leave, you know that both of you are somehow a little more empty and a little more full than before. Cool. I already had +2 interface skill, didn't I? Wow, I missed that. Engineering, I guess. It has long been my specialty. Yep. Alright. Let's see what Rabia has. As you enter Rabia's office, you hear voices. Is that Sabine? You push open the door. Sleeper! What good timing, Rabia calls out as you enter. I want to introduce you to someone. The man is standing at the center of the room, speaking quietly with Rabia. He turns as you come in. Meet Yannick. What the hell? The guy who betrayed them? Yannick, right? Sleeper, he nods. Been hearing good things from Rabbi. He smiles an easy smile. Rabia? Rabia cuts in. The sleeper has been running patrols in the ward. They know how we run things. Yannick raises an eyebrow, his eyes concealed behind tinted glasses. You feel a stare, even if you cannot see it. Actually, Rabia places a hand on your shoulder. The sleeper was what I wanted to talk to you about. She doesn't spare you a look. What is going on? Well, okay then. Yannick tucks his hands into his pockets. Go on. I'd like to recommend them to your ward. A tiny pause. They have shown themselves to be a capable ally here on the spoke side. But we have more than enough to run our territories. I hear the main block is proving more difficult. Yannick leans forward slowly. It's a mess, Rabbi. He waits, his tinted glasses shimmering despite the lack of light in the unit. I can use them, he declares. I can use them, he suddenly decides. Why did I say declares? He is declaring that, but... Rabia smiles. Good to hear. I can, immediately. Yannick cuts her off with a raised hand. 1 second. He steps one surprisingly light step closer to you. You eager to work, sleeper? What kind of work? A question. Yannick lowers his head and raises it again, as if he dropped something. Nothing new for you, he answers, not quite looking at you. You don't follow. What is he saying? That concludes it, Yannick pronounces. Sleeper can come work in the ward anytime they like. You shoot Rabia a confused look. Rabia finally glances at you for a moment, but it's so fast you almost miss it. Good. I know you'll be happy with the work, Yan. Yannick reaches out and squeezes her shoulder. Sure, Rabbi, he says. Now please, he says, turning to face you. Let us old friends get back to it. He guides Rabia away, leaving you standing alone. You look to Rabia, but she is deep in conversation, and so, stunned and confused, you leave. The heck? If Sabine is right, Yannick has been working with SNR behind Yadigan's back. Time to find out the truth. What is going on? This is Yannick's word. Patrol the block. The massive block at the center of the low end is made up of layers and layers of units. Patrolling this vertical city is a challenge. Yannick's trust. Yannick is a strange character, but he seems to understand the value of hard work. You'll gain his trust with time. This is going to be a big investment of time, it looks like. And it's a dangerous engage action. Could have gone heavier and engage. I guess this will make it just take longer if I don't want to put in rolls that might fail. Give it my 5s though. Yannick's trust, that was a positive result. Factories, restaurants, surgeries, schools. The layers of the block are rich with stories and problems to solve. You're starting to learn them all. Same thing. I'll risk a 4 in this. Got the positive result again. I'll just throw a 6 in and finish it in one day. Why not? You almost laugh when you see it. The same small recorder, stuck to a different wall this time. Written across the fluorescent tape is that familiar word. Sleeper. You grab it quickly. Rabia says sorry. Sabine's voice sparks up once again. She said she didn't have time to brief you before setting you up with the old man. I'm sure you've got the play by now. Earn his trust, work the block. Then we need you to get into his office. Pause. It's risky, but obviously, you are the only one of us he doesn't already know. Either way, we need to locate the link to SNARP. You hear a shout in the background recording. Rabia says be careful. Sabine continues. The data suggests there's some relay processing the implant data and sending it to SNARP, but we can't lock down its position. Either he is moving it, or it's moving itself. or it is rerouting through other relays. We can't understand it. Maybe you can find some details on it in his office. Once he trusts you, you should be able to get close enough in the office. You only get one shot. The recording creaks and whines. That's the final piece of the puzzle to end this. A pause. Good luck, sleeper. I'm sorry too. Be safe. The recording clicks off, leaving you in silence. You pocket the recorder, just in case, and walk away. Looks like it's up to you. I'll probably hit that tomorrow. Being paranoid probably, but I'd like to have a little bit of some good rolls built up, if possible. Do a little soft repair to make sure I have a full set of rolls, because it is cheaper to work at the edge in self-repair. What is it? If I did the component repair thing. B20 cryo, but also a chance of getting scrap. Maybe I should just buy a stabilizer. However, it's done is done. Working on your own body is an unsettling but necessary act. You can feel the new components under your skin. Interesting. Let's feed the stray. Actually, I can do a little more in the cloud here. I'll do some have knowledge data. No, let's reroll. Maybe I get something better. Like a high roll I could use somewhere else. Nope. Okay. Sleep where the stray is, and tomorrow we'll see what's up. That's an ARP thing. By the way, for those who've been waiting for this while, I'm going to try and not take too long and finish this whole campaign. Not too many more episodes. I do have other games that I'd like to move on to, some of which I've already loaded up after not having open for a while and refamiliarizing myself. Particularly Evorion. Wildermyth, especially Wildermyth, even more in Evorion, and Age of Wonders 3, which I might be trying to stream a multiplayer game of, if my Steam friend will allow it. I started to teach him the game. He owned it, but he hardly ever played it with multiplayer, and so he did a very short session beginning a multiplayer game, like campaign, scenario, whatever, random map, team game. Taught him the very basics, and hopefully can pick it up, start recording with the second session if he'll allow. Anyways, to Yannick's office. Hope to see some of you guys in that, and I also probably return to Pop-Up Dungeon eventually. Let's play that, as well as my Vampire Let's Play I'm slowly moving through, and Hearts Iron 4. Anyhow, which I know that game has a reputation. There's too many right-wing people, but I play left-wing pass always, almost always. I did a monarchist German run once, but prefer communist or left-wing democratic pass in that game. Anyways, find the relay. Yannick has asked you to collect his medicine from his office. Now is the only chance to find the SNARP relay. It's an intuit action, dangerous. Guess I did need a good roll. If I'd tried to use a 3 or 2, I'll just throw a 6 into it. Even if it's overkill, it's not. You spot the countermeasure on the drawer moments before you touch it. This has to be it, but you can't rush it. Right? You look at the countermeasure on the drawer. It looks like some kind of shock trap. If you'd grab the drawer, you'd likely have thousands of volts running through your system right now. You wince. Once you find the anchor points, it comes away easily enough. You prise it from the drawer quickly and quietly, then listen for footsteps in the corridor outside. Nothing. All clear for now. You slide the drawer open, looking for other countermeasures that might be inside, expecting to see a chunk of tech, the relay. But as you slip it open, all you see is a handful of wires and an empty implant cradle. Is this some kind of mistake? You freeze for a moment, unsure what to do next. Why keep an implant cradle so carefully guarded? You remember Yannick having an implant. A small plate on the side of his head, just above his ear. You assumed it was for hearing or vision. Those shimmering glasses of his come back to you in your memory. His strange movements. His speech. You look again at the cradle, and there it is, printed on the frame. Proprietary technology. Property of S&ARP. Rubaya said the relay moved, that they couldn't get a fix on it. What if Yannick was the relay? The thought hits you like a shock. Yannick, with a remote relay implanted in his head, networked to every single implanted enforcer in the low end. A shudder runs through you. Is he even in control? Or has S&ARP wormed its way into the man? Could he even be considered separate from the corporation itself? You think of your own legal status as proprietary technology. A puppet with cut strings. Time to cut Yannick's strings, then. You reach around inside the cradle and find it. A remote connection. A tiny bead of a transmitter. Likely controlling the link to S&ARP. There it is. You pause for a moment. Then you squeeze it. Snap it from the frame and it crumples, sparks and dies. It takes a moment before the shouts come, before the scream, and you're already on your way out, down the corridor, down through the unit that serves as the lobby to Yannick's office. Then, out onto the walkway where Yannick lies still, enforcers gathered around him, bemused, approach. You push through the crowd, and there he is, still crumpled. You arrange him a little, lie him down properly, feeling how thin his body is under his suit. You wonder how long he has been like this, a puppet for S&ARP. With the connection cut, nothing remains but his body, which means that Yannick the man was gone a long time before now. Basically a meat puppet? You place a hand on his chest. You are sorry for him, but it is done now. And you did not kill this man. No, SNR probably did. There's also symbolism here. You've seen enough. The connection is cut, and whatever Yannick was, or had become, is gone. About people being puppets to corporations, but this is very literal, too. Your anger is a hard core in your chest, and all of it is focused on SNARP. This is Rabia's office. The clock says the aftermath. The low end is wild with stories about Yannick's death. You are still waiting for Rabia to get in touch, but you trust that she will. Huh. This is probably the best way to get cryo, is actually playing tabla on the tambour. If I have a very high roll available. 4 cryo more than the repair components. I'm assuming the odds of rolling scrap. Although if the scrap's effective value is around 20. Depends how often I would have rolled it doing the component repair jobs. I don't know. I guess I'll give it a shot once at least. You hit a stride of good games, amassing a solid stack of chits. In your final game, a decisive defeat, the other player applauds. Huh. Interesting. We roll these. These are pretty bad rolls. 6, a 4, and a 1. I know what I'm doing with the 1. More Yadigan data there. All right. Guess we can do a little work with Bliss. You manage an M2 converter rewire in record time, giving you and Moritz some spare time to chat about recent business. Yeah, I am curious what they've been up to. And got some cryo for it. This also can remind me, okay, 4 more cycles till that last job. Hope it doesn't like cut off my use of the bay, repair bay anymore. Yeah, and this is 4 cycles as well. So I've got a few things in 4 cycles here. Alright. Just do some stabilizer. My character. And the cycle, I guess. Feed the stray first. Yep. Kindred spirit, that cat. Maybe. To my sleeper. Alright, one more day in the aviary. And a while left on the 5 days in the grow beds here. I like to have all this stuff completely cleared out before I try the Conway thing. Tomorrow I'll need to harvest the grow beds and probably want the spores ready to replant, so now's a good time to collect spores. There's some 5s in. There we go. That should be more than enough spores. I think it's only 3 to replant actually, so maybe I should have used the 4 here. Whatevs. Guess I'll buy at least one more. Wait, what happened to the dispensary? I don't see it anymore. Frack, did it disappear because of the whole thing with, it must have. Which means I have to rely purely on self-repair, and guess I should have stocked up on the stabilizer more. Got just when I thought things are going great. This is gonna make life a little more expensive. $64 cryo for a stabilizer. That was a great deal. And no more. Or never again, I guess. Do some repair stuff. If I'm lucky, I'll get some scrap from it. I was not lucky. I got transfer intercept when doing this hobnosh. sorry, low rolls can give me effectively 20 cryo worth of data. A chance of 5. High rolls repair 20 cryo directly plus chance of scrap. Either way, pretty good returns. Just wish I had bought more stabilizer while it was available. And end this cycle. Guess I'll have to keep going to the hypocomia now. Right, because not like just missing the dispensary, it was over here? It makes sense it would have disappeared without the SNARP insider guy, but... Scrap. At least I can buy scrap for just 16. Since it would have been opportunity cost of 20 cryo to forage for scrap. It's certainly profitable, and that's before you count the ship mine fragments, which make this highly profitable. Anyhow, got plenty of cryo. It's just scrap and stabilizer now. Cook some roll caps. And pick some of these mushrooms. High rolls let me stock up on stabilizer. Got a club head and a matsutake. Fun. Risk of 4 in this. That was just a couple matsutake, it looks like. And use the one on data extraction. And then re-roll the 4s in the hopes of getting 5s or 6s. Darn it, 1 and 3? Can't afford the opportunity cost of not getting more fungus growing, so just have to use the 3. More matsutake. Still only have 1 club head cap. It says something about club-like bodies, but I didn't get another. Oh, I only need... Oh yeah, no, it's each time I do this, it uses a spore. There we go. Replanted the mushroom beds. And in 4 cycles, Be more. I'm almost positive, though, with it taking 1.5 high rolls just to replant, 3 rolls to harvest, should probably get about one of is the effective cost of stabilizer just got a lot higher now that I have to grow my own. Oh well. Alright, feed the stray and the cycle. Tomorrow there'll be a merchant. Maybe they'll buy some more ship mines or fragments, whatever it was. I think it was fragments they sell. One more day till I Rabia and the seed over on the Greenway. Put a 1 on Yadigan data extraction here. And a 2. I guess 4s and 5s into component repair. 4s actually. Is that +2 engineering? Throw that 5 into the mushroom groves, and so I have +1 into it. I have to keep getting spores. Cool. Stay in the hyphodorms. I don't know if I've even done that before. Stayed here. Oh, I got a self-repair. I'll only have 4 die tomorrow. And end the cycle. Oh yeah, this guy comes for me anyways when they got a job. Sleeper, long time. Moritz is smiling at you when you leave. Clearly happy to see you again. Moritz, good to see you. Same. He rubs his hands on his jacket. Hasn't been a long time though. It was just yesterday I was working on the component repair. How you been? Working hard. I bet, he grins. Well, you are always welcome to hang at the bay if you want. He glances around. Actually, that's what I'm here about. I know Bless said she didn't want to take any more big jobs, but she's changed her mind. Or something. He grins. because now we have someone looking for a refit of their ship in our bay. You would not believe it, but they want their entire ship disarmed, cutting out defense arrays, weapon lockers, ship-to-ship countermeasures, the whole lot. He leans in. Could this be the mercenary? He leans in. We'll be able to start an arms dealership with all the hardware we'll have up there when we are done. He laughs. Anyway, it's a massive job, and we need some hands. Bliss said to go get you. So come on up. Bliss is waiting on you to accept the job. He pauses. It'll be good to have you back up there again. He grins. Like old times. I mean, it's a tried and true trope of space sci-fi that ships should be armed because there's always risk of like pirates and stuff as a deterrent to them and defense if necessary. If you see me playing a Voran, you'll notice almost all my ships are armed to the teeth, even ships I'm just using for trade. Reduces the chance of a pirate attack. Doesn't eliminate it, but it reduces that inconvenience and makes it more likely to be survivable. So come on up. Bliss is waiting on you to accept the job. He pauses. Be good to have you up there again. He grins like old times. I think I read that before, but anyhow. Let's go do this. In a sec. I also need to talk to Rabaya. Even before you enter the office, you can hear the sound of Rabaya working the heavy bag. She is hammering it, the chain creaking as it shakes with each hit. She's been like this since Sabine doesn't finish the sentence. Working, she's like punching a punching bag, basically. Or kicking it. They're sitting on a stool looking at the terminal in the corner. Searching through the SNRP data you pulled all those cycles ago. Is she okay? Or how have you been? I'm well, sleeper. Happy no longer be hunted. They smile. Yagan has plenty to deal with. And without Yannick, I'm free. They glance nervously at Rabaya. Rabaya stops punching. And in the silence, you can hear her breathing hard. Sabine looks over at her, and you sense something between them. You realize you haven't seen them together since they tried to kill each other in this same unit. A lot has changed since then. They hooked him up like a puppet. Rabaya hits the bag. Rigged that thing in his head so they could control him. Pushed the old Yannick out. I don't know why he let them in. Rabaya throws a few more punches. But it's a lesson. Don't let them in. Yeah. Like corporations, way the system, the exploitative system, worms its way into you. You start off trading off your values a little. And then a little more. A little more. In the real world, of course, I'm talking. Something I was going to have to be wary of if I got to be a physician. There's a lot of corruption that's trying to undermine the integrity of our medical professionals. Everything from medical device and drug makers to health insurers trying to push doctors to not provide the best care, to do things in ways that instead maximize their bottom line. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's only getting worse. Integrity is important and honestly not common enough. Not common enough at high enough levels for the incredible challenges that people are facing to their integrity. Anyways, I don't know why you let them in. Rabiah throws a few more punches, but so yeah. Anyways, another flurry. Yadigan shouldn't deal with corporations, and we never will again. She spits. She comes away from the bag. At least Yannick's death has been treated as natural. There's a chance we come back from this. That Yadigan can hold on. But there are opportunists trying to take control. Sabine turns to you. Yes, but now the connection has been broken. I've been looking at removing the trackers from the implants in Yadigan's enforcers. It's a significant job, but I think, with time, I can do the surgeries. Rabiah walks away from the bag towards the far side of the unit. Those surgeries will never happen if Yadigan collapses, she shouts back at Sabine. Clearly, this is a well-worn argument in this unit. Will Yadigan really collapse? I don't think so. No. Rabiah doesn't either. They look over at her. At least not when she's calm. What I understand now is that Yadigan can be something if we want it to be. Coming here from SNARP, from the core worlds, all I saw was a gang. And with Yannick keeping me on a tight leash, they shudder. Rabiah believes, and I want that belief. They look unsure. I also want to be done with SNARP, but I doubt they are done with me. They glance away, rubbing their shoulders. Are you and Rabiah? Sabine fixes you with a look. Yes, Sleeper. Isn't that obvious? They smile. I've been wanting to say. Sabine begins nervously. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you where I came from. I know I've apologized before, but I want to again. They pause. Properly. When I leaked the data on the Sleeper program, it was to try to help people, like you. They grit their teeth. But after all the cycles here, being pushed down, pushed around, trying to survive, all that got away from me. So when you turned up, they sigh. It shook me up. They run a hand through their hair. But I ended up here, so... They look at Rabiah. Oh, of course. They reach into a pocket and take out a handful of vials. These are the last of the case. You can have them. They drop them into your hands. After these last few, I don't know what we can do. With the SNR connection broken, they look down. But I know there are other ways. Repairs. What I've been doing, self-repair. Other pharmaceuticals. I even heard there are some labs out on the Greenway. Perhaps they can help? They met your eye. I'm sorry I can't do more. Thank you for everything. They look away, their eyes bright with tears. Heck, if I had done this part of the quest before I got the black caps, or advanced the repair stuff enough that would be a good source of money, or my skills enough that I could at least regularly do Tavla games at high skill, or Forge Scrap. Oh geez, I would have been in real trouble, not knowing what to do. Anyways, they look away. Sabine looks away, her eyes bright with tears. Rabiah crosses back to you both. And is it her or is it is she transgender? I don't know. Sometimes they is used, and I'm not clear if that's just they couldn't decide if she was going to be a male or female character, or if she's actually transgender, and that's why. Um, I mean, it matters in terms of using the right terms, so I wish it would at least be identified. Allow them to identify with that group that's been marginalized. The writers to at least touch on the struggles faced. Anyways, that those individuals face. Rabia crosses back to you both and sits beside Sabine. They look at each other, and you can't help but smile at the idea of them together. Oh, sweet. I'm a male myself, and I unfortunately don't have to worry about that way of being marginalized, but it's not to say there aren't others. Long COVID is just one of a few ways that, of at least 3 that I can think of right offhand, that have been very marginalized in society. Overlapping things. What are you two plotting? Rabia grins. Sabine laughs, and the sound is a welcome one. You watch the two of them teasing each other and smile. Later, when you leave, you take that handful of vials out of your pocket and look at them. You can still feel that core of anger deep down inside, and you don't know if it will ever leave. But Esnarp doesn't own you anymore. They can't, because this place, these people, own you. They're what makes you get up every cycle. They're what keeps you breathing. You put the vials away and walk through the low end. Your senses tuned to every sight, every smell, and every sound. Soak it all in. Living. Sorry, this might sound like a stretch to some of you who are not familiar with political theory, or at least this part of political theory, but this is a very socialist, anarchist, mutual aid way of looking at the world. That's emphasizing the way that it's people that we keep each other going. No corporation can own us. I mean, it may sound like a stretch, as I said, but it isn't. I've met enough such individuals to be almost guaranteed there was at least one socialist on the design team for this game. Kind of like Disco Elysium, which, if you're not aware, the devs of that game thanked Karl Marx and Engels in an award speech. I'm not kidding. Look it up if you don't believe me. And that's a good thing. Diversity of opinions and views, even if you don't agree with it. We shouldn't live in a world where only one set of views is represented. If a group isn't actively spewing hatred and intolerance, which socialists are not, if you think they are, you're buying into blatant propaganda. They have every right to exist and to put their ideas into things the way other ideologies already do. Anyways. When I mention that is the only way this character survives at all is through people helping him and him helping others. From the people in the Haifa commune, help produce a stabilizer, to the people who have given breaks, given what little resources they could spare, shared the stories and inspiration. These are the things that do keep this character going. The love and help of his friends. And it is a shame that our own modern world, people are too often isolated from each other, alienated. Certainly true. Someone like me struggling with long COVID, and there's no real role for me in society because I'm too sick to work. And I don't really have much community around this, though I'm trying to build a channel. Maybe someday I will have people if I start Patreon chats, whatever. I don't know. Maybe as I get more into political videos. But for now, this is not exactly the most connecting thing either. Couple sixes. I should work on this job here. Bliss. Oh, I have to talk to her. Some kind of event first. When you enter the bay, it is weirdly quiet. Moritz must be out on some errand, and maybe Bliss is prepping the kit. Here's Ankita again. But she looks different now. Sleeper. Ankita is drifting at one side of the bay. You missed her completely when you came in. The idea of not seeing Ankita when you entered a room would have seemed unlikely to you several cycles ago. But seeing her without her armor, it's worth noting I probably could have gone this far without meeting her before. I wonder if this would have had different events then, different text. But seeing her without her armor, she seems smaller, less imposing. What are you doing here? I was about to ask you the same thing. She kicks off from the wall, comes a little closer. So what is this? She asks. Come to avenge Ashton or a sleeper? Or just looking for another payout? Her anger is familiar, but quieter than before. Restrained. I don't want to fight. Then why are you here? She looks away, and can you tell her anger isn't directed at you in particular? It radiates off her like fire. You better be ready to sign, comes the shout from the bay entrance, because I've got my best repair tech coming up here, especially. And they are going to. Bliss glides in, and suddenly stops herself when she sees you and Ankita standing off. Oh, Sleeper. You are already here. Miss Cassetta, this is the tech I was telling you about. Best on the She stops, looking between the two of you. Wait, do you two know each other? You and Ankita look at each other. We work together. Bliss squints at you before continuing. Bliss produces a slate. Now, Miss Cassetta, if you'd like to sign our damage waiver here, we can start on the decommissioning. She looks at you. My tech here is eager to get started, as am I. Ankita scrawls her signature across the slate. Thank you. Bliss pauses. And everything is okay with the special payment terms we discussed? She gives Ankita a strange smile. Sorry. All fine, says Ankita. Give you another hard look. Then she kicks off and drifts to the entrance. I'll be in the gimbal, she says, and leaves. Special payment terms? She looks over her glasses at you. Ankita must have been angry that I dropped the chits. Very. Feared that might upset her. But it was supposed to be symbolic about money and a valuable life. She looks over her glasses at you. Look, Sleeper. There's something I have to tell you. She glances around. What is she so nervous about? This isn't exactly a typical job. Miss Cassetta, I mean Ankita, she gives you a knowing look, doesn't have the chits to pay us. So we've made a special agreement, she sighs. I'm leaving. Leaving? Or, this is a little more insightful, you're joining a mercenary crew? Don't make me laugh. Inkita is next, Merc. Why do you think she's getting us to remove all her ship's armaments? Amber. The ship is called Amber. Bliss gives you a funny look. There's some deep history here, huh? She holds up a hand to stop you answering. Look. All I care is that she is heading out for the starboard belt. She looks out at the bay. That's where I'm headed. She turns back to face you. Also, I wanted to ask, she stops unsure, if you'd like to come with us. I can't. Still got people to help. She interrupts before you answer. I know things have been hard for you in the eye, and you helped me so much. I asked Inkita if she carried 2 of us, and she said yes. Maybe I could. Maybe this is a way to help. What was it? Mina and Lem? She'll take 3, maybe? Moritz will take over the bay anyway. Although if you stay, you're welcome to help him run it. I just thought, she sighs, you might be in need of a fresh start as much as I am. I mean, running away from your problems won't solve them. Made something of life here. If it was going badly, sometimes a fresh start can help, but there's making progress and stuff. She turns away nervously. Say this is someone who may have thinking about trying to get to Europe ahead of time, where the U.S. is going, but that's because that's not a personal problem. That's the problem of a whole nation in collapse, quite possibly. I give it 10% odds, maybe, but 10% odds of things getting real bad is not odds I would want to gamble on, even if it's only 5 if I'm overestimating. It's enough, play with fire like that. I can't individually solve the country's problems. That's different. You can solve your own problems sometimes. You can contribute to collective action on bigger problems. It's not acceptable to just only focus on yourself, but you do what you can on bigger things, but it doesn't mean you can solve it single-handedly. Anyways, she turns away nervously. Think about it anyway. The berth is there. We've got to finish the job first anyway. And with that, she kicks away and heads to the racks before you can offer an answer. Moments later, Moritz enters with a new cutting torch for the disarming of the ambergris. The starboard belt. You push your thoughts to the back of your mind. Time to get to work. I mean, easy enough. There's no time clock on this either. And Kita wants it all out. Weapons, countermeasures, torpedoes. It would be a risky job if you didn't know Amber so well. But I do, so it's a safe engineering job. Refitting Amber. Once this job is ready, you better be ready to make a fast decision. Stay with Moritz or go with Inkita and Bliss. Rather see if I can find Inkita. She said she'd be at the gimbal. I don't see her there. I guess I could buy a meal there. To see if I find her here today. Nope. Spacer food is a story of modified compounds and vitamins, laced with a dose of algae. It's effective nutrition, but little else. Interesting. Okay, that was a little bit of a waste of money, but not much. What, 2 cryo extra? I was hoping I'd run into Nikita there. Maybe I'll find her again. Anyways. Mushrooms are growing. The seed is growing. Could gather scrap. Work the farm stacks. Oh well. Scrap's important ultimately, but guess lacking other stuff. There's Tabwa. Except what can I use the cryo for? Sorry for the mic bump and sick buying food anymore. It's a lot less useful to me now that I can't buy stabilizer. I produce more than enough mushrooms as a byproduct to probably feed my character most of the time anyhow. Alright, I guess I'll go salvage some scrap. And don't see anything more Brother Via. I guess that's done. Still a freight shipment. Just to find out what's inside. But I can't see the purpose of that. What could I find inside? Probably nothing that important. It's stupid. I don't want to do that. I would just make business work even more poorly on the eye here. Just salvage scrap. I have to use the remaining stabilizer sparingly. So I guess it's self-repair. That's where it's at. And end the cycle. This rate, I'll slowly turn my character into a bunch of cybernetic parts. There won't be much left of the biosynthetic. Just going to quickly check to see if I saw any trace of Ankita up here. Nope. Can wait on disarming the ambergris. There's the sidereal horizon. Should finish this up so that maybe Lem can get the ticket. And given a choice between engineering and interface work, I got engineering. which would seem to be better work, unless maybe a little riskier, but scrap is more rewarding. Unless would only be a riskier safe action if I had done the interface, but whatever. Put a 4 in, which becomes a 6. Camaraderie, care, focused progress. Shifts like this give you energy, especially when you look back at the sterile horizon, growing impossibly. Alright. Throw a 5 and a 6 in it. Same thing. Same description. We got a couple 1s. Data extraction. Or A1. You know what? Actually, I re-roll this and I got a 4, which you can put in the 0. I have very little use of cryo now, so buying scrap and food. I also get paid for that work. It's not terrible. And the cycle. Tomorrow there's stuff over at the Haifa Commune. Just check the Greenway here. See what grew from the seed. Harvest the mushrooms. Oh, forgot to use the scrap. I only got 4 dice today. Darn. Mistakes get made. Rico has something in her hands when you enter the lab. It looks like a knotted twist of woody stems, a ring about the circumference of a human head, consisting of a single stalk on one side and a branched, woven network at the other. As you approach, she holds it up, and in the lights of the lab, it looks like a crown. Rico finishes your thought. She smiles and shakes her head in disbelief. Is that what grew? It is. I came to the plant this morning, and this loop was all that was there. She points to a lump on the edge of the ring. The seed grew right back into itself, twisted up out of the soil. That being you encountered, in the cloud as you call it, was it wearing one of these? She eyes you suspiciously, still unsure if she is somehow embroiled in an overlong prank. It doesn't work like that. She sighs. Perhaps wearing was the wrong word. She places the object on the bench and shuffles to her analysis terminal, her face lit by its amber light in the dim corner of the lab. Well, it isn't exactly a plant anyway. Not from what I can tell. She gives you a serious look. No leaves. No chloroplasts. So no photosynthesis. Just a series of filaments encased in cellulose walls. How did it grow, then? Normally plants use the energy of light to grow. The seed wouldn't have enough energy normally. It seems the seed contained everything it needed. Except the seed is tiny. You can't grow that much biomass out of just a seed. There's not the energy to fix that much carbon. Without photosynthesis, there's no way to fix carbon to grow that much biomass. Plants, they take biomass. They take carbon out of the air to grow their biomass. Study biology in real life, but how to explain this to a lay audience? If you look at a plant, and you look at all the what makes it up, the bulk, the matter, It doesn't come from the soil. That may be some old inaccurate ideas some people have. It comes from the air, from carbon dioxide in the air that gets fixed into glucose, basically, and then that, through a series of chemical reactions, gets turned into everything else the plant needs, including cellulose, but many other compounds. They're all produced through enzymatic reactions, which some aren't energetically favorable on their own, so they're coupled with ATP, which is also produced usually from one of two ways. Either sometimes sunlight can directly be used to generate ATP, or from metabolizing the glucose. Both processes actually occur in plants. But anyways, everything's synthesized from the air using chloroplasts. If there are no chloroplasts, there's no photosynthesis. A plant can't grow. That would be creating matter out of nothing. It breaks the laws of physics. You do get a few plants that are fed by fungal networks to get their biomass in the ground, like the ghost lily. That's the only possible, maybe, I guess, if she planted the seed somewhere that had a large symbiotic mycelial network, but you would think she would have been aware of that in a grow bed. It seems seed contained everything it needed. A self-contained entity, nothing less. She beckons you over. But that isn't the good part. Look at this. You see a cross-section of the crown. Its layers of plant-like structure on full view until you reach the center. There, instead of xylem and phloem for transporting nutrients, something branched and woven glints. Metal? In part, yes. They seem to contain metal, perhaps absorbed from the station itself. She leans closer to the screen. But you see those branches? They remind me of dendrites, of neurons. She rubs her eyes, which is frankly ridiculous. It's part of a neural network, brain cells. Those are unaware. It wouldn't make any sense in a plant. Plants don't have nervous systems. You look back at which is why when people say plants feel or think, that's blatant bullshit. I had a professor, college, literature grad student, not a professor actually, a grad student, was teaching a class who was like language studies, no biology background, and was talking about plants feeling. I'm like, plants can't feel. They don't have nervous systems. This person had no clue how plants work, and just had like this basically spiritual animistic beliefs with no foundation in science, that were just entirely based on basically religious principles, based on a gross misunderstanding of Native American religions, and just wishful thinking of how this person wanted to think the world was. That was a very bad teacher, that grad student. She got in huge trouble for some things she was doing, being very unfair and inappropriate with the way she was grading things. Anyways, you look back at the crown on the table as Rico fusses over the scans, and you suddenly realize what it reminds you of. You remember signing the forms, the walk to the sleeper tanks, the cold metal floor. Then you remember the crown they fitted you with, the branching structure of wires and pads. No, not a crown. They called it an interface. The tool of your emulation, your transference from neurons to electrons. Well, not to electrons, to semiconductors, and an interface. That is your gift from Gardner. You turn back to Rico. There's electricity that flows through semiconductors, but there's also electricity that flows through neurons, electrical potentials. Rather, it's not just electrons shooting around. There's chemical gradients, and it always amuses me when computer scientists try to analyze the brain, treat it like it works the same as semiconductors. It doesn't. There's a lot more, you might call it dimensions of information storage beyond just the physical geometry, which is part of why brains are capable of storing, processing information with, it's theorized, many thousands times more density than semiconductors. People calculated and said that, oh, it's actually pretty close now. No, it's not. That's because they're excluding a lot of dimensions of how data is stored in the brain that go way, 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 way beyond just physical geometry. They include things like changes in gene expression, changes in the chemical levels within neurons, changes in synaptic vesicle surface receptors. There's a ton of types of things that go on in the brain. It's way more complicated than a computer. Anyways, it's all incomprehensible. It's all comprehensible, but the people who do these studies of the brain like it's a computer are not experts, and they don't bother to learn how neurobiology really works. It's incredibly arrogant. It's computer people thinking they know everything. If they would seriously study the biology, they'd be much more able to make progress in what they're trying to do and understand how we could do things like AI or cure certain brain diseases. Anyways, you turn back to Rico. An interface, that is your gift from the gardener. You turn back to Rico. It's an interface. Rico looks at you, puzzled. Something clicks in her mind. Perhaps something she heard from the sleeper she had helped all those cycles ago. She starts talking, partway to you, partway to herself. If the club heads were made for you, then this, too, could be made for you, for your frame. She shuffles over quickly to the interface, and a word that has stuck to this strange branched object. A word that's stuck to this strange branch object quickly in your mind. You're right. That entity, it is the entity I've been looking for. She shuffles quickly to the crown. They are the entity which is controlling the Greenway, which has been maintaining it, supporting it, and has been guiding it for all these decades. She stops to catch her breath. They want to talk with you. Rico leads you to a seat. I will be here, sleeper. If something happens, if you wish me to remove the crown, the interface, just squeeze. She grips her hand tightly. You meet her eyes, clouded with age, but bright with the thrill of new discoveries. Then she places the interface on your head, and everything blinks out. Back into the river, back into the dark flow. But something is different now. In the cloud. You are no longer pushed, no longer blocked and buffeted by the storm. That's not my saying the same thing twice. It's, if you can't see the text, it says by the swarm, comma, by the storm. Instead, it flows around you. You move, and it parts, letting you pass. Something else resists, but it gives easily enough. You look back and see your body. You have left it behind. Sorry. Somewhere, Rico's voice is talking to you, asking you questions. It is excited, eager, desperate to know what lies on the other side. What the entity has to say to you. You realize how long she has waited for this moment. For the moment of meeting between the inhabitants of the Greenway and its protector, and yet she is still on the outside. You shake off the sadness. You will be her eyes. Then you see the figure, gardener, out in the storm, planting. It takes less than a moment to reach them. You have never felt so free. This is how Navigator must have felt, released from their prison. This, you think, is what it feels like to be in this place you were built to inhabit. Built to inhabit. This is just trying to force meaning on the player. I disagree that it's very built. Sleeper is a kind of dual existence between digital and physical space. It's not one or the other solely. Gardner does not turn at your approach. People resist hybrid realities, but they're just as natural sometimes as others. Anyways, Gardner does not turn at your approach. They go on planting, but their voice whispers in the waters like a sharply rising current. You grew the gift. Their speech hisses around you. Good. I am glad. Wanted to meet you, or who are you? Gardner is a good name. You choose it well. I will grow into it. How does it feel to be free of your seed? They stoop to plant again. My seed? That in which you were contained, from which you will grow. There was some disagreement, continues Gardner, as if you were picking up on a long-held conversation with the others. They felt you were a danger, but they are always cautious, especially the fungi. They like old loam, known knowns, wide and stable networks. The fungi were cautious? Mostly, yes, although there are many among their number who favor short growth cycles, thick nutrient veins, and sun shifts. He gestures out into the storm, and though you cannot see them, you feel presences all around, sensing this audience with great interest. This is the nonsense of sentient plants and fungi. It comes up very often in sci-fi. Also, digital Tron type space. It's mixing genres. After all, they understood that it was I who made them their crowns, and without them, they would not have joined the chorus. So they see that it is only fair that you get your chance to join too. You made more crowns? I made them all. Gardner moves away a little, looking for another planting spot. It was so lonely here. But before long, I found them and began to let them in. Gardner stoops again. We are millions, and we grow. Oh God, this is like hive mind nonsense. Except not quite. I hope you understand. I am unused to speaking to your kind. It has been many cycles since my last conversation. I think it was with Chief Executive Trellick himself. You look around and you see it. Every growing thing, every non-human being in the Greenway is here. They are networked, connected, branched and linked by this strange being, this artifact of the old station. The impossible dream of a senile farm administration AI. A living network. Impossible? Because it is impossible. Sci-fi loves to say it's impossible and then make it happen. No, it would defy so many laws of physics. It's not even funny. Maybe in a different reality without our physics, but no reality that's constrained by laws of physics could this ever exist. You could dissolve here, you realize, free of that decaying body. You wouldn't need to be a person. Yeah, you lose your individuality. Why would you? Among all of these other minds. Not just your individuality. Anyways, you turn away from Gardner for a moment and look back at your body. A tiny hairline thread connects it to you. You hear Rico's voice again, still asking, still checking in. Are you okay, Sleeper? What are they saying, Sleeper? Are you still there, Sleeper? Something in you sighs a long sigh. A sigh that speaks of an exhaustion beyond tiredness. An exhaustion rooted deep inside you. Stems from the effort of answering questions, of answering problems, of getting up and breathing each cycle. Oh, please. Such a almost depressive, maybe extremely introverted way of looking at the world. For some extroverts, such as myself, which makes the isolation all the harder, engagement with others is energizing. It's not exhausting. It's what I live for, is for answering questions, is for answering problems, getting up and breathing. That's what makes life interesting. For an introvert, it's the opposite usually, at least according to some theories. And this introvert-extrovert thing is somewhat unscientific, the way this term's been defined. Heck, psychology it's a legitimate science, but it's still in its infancy in many ways. Still has a long way to go till things will be better understood and formalized. Anyways, but something else resists the sigh. A yearning, a sense of distance, a desire to squeeze that hand that holds you for its warmth, its blood, its complexity. To make a gesture says, I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm with you. Yep. And here to help. The two ideas spin within you, make you nauseous. Escapism and engagement is what they really are. I hate when it doesn't. I worry if I sometimes click continue, it does nothing. If I click again, I'll accidentally choose an option. It's bad. If you're going to put choices in the same place as the continue button, it should always work when you click. Anyways, if you break that thread, you'll be free. Free to dissolve here, to grow strange and beautiful among a million others. If you follow it, if you squeeze Rico's hand, you will wake up, back in that dying body. All things die. It's the natural way of things. Though it doesn't have to happen quickly. Indeed, the fungal grown stabilizer, hopefully sleeper can last a very long time. If you follow it, if you squeeze Rico's hand, you'll wake up, back in that dying body, with all the pain and warmth that entails. Now is the moment to choose. Follow the thread. It's not even a question to me. Your eyes track the thread back across the whirling dark, back to your body. This choice, you realize, will not be presented again. Follow it. You don't look back at Gardner. You don't dare risk it. Instead, you follow the thread, delicately, carefully, like a diver following their lifeline back to the surface. The river whirls around you, but it doesn't pull. It isn't jealous. Neither does it understand. It is, after all, just a river. It isn't a person, a flesh and blood person, with wants, with desires, with the capacity for love and hate. It doesn't understand you, and you don't understand it. So you don't focus on it. You don't think about it, on what feels like such a long journey back through the dark. You set your mind on eyes instead, on hands, things you can focus on, hold on to. And then, after an age of crossing, you are there, settling back into the chair, into a body in a chair, and overwhelming sensations that come with being a living thing, with a rich and detailed sensorium. And it'd be more detailed if S&R Pen removed so much sensation. This character. Maybe someday I'll find a way to get some senses added back in, like a more acute sense of taste again. For a moment, You feel like you have made a terrible mistake. Who would choose this weight, this anxiety, this deep well at the center of existence? But then you feel it. Rico's hand, gripped hard around yours, trembling a little, sweating a little. Think what would have happened if the other... She would have been heartbroken. The sleeper would have died. His body, anyways. She wouldn't have known. Rico's hand, with its brittle bones and crumpled skin, would have crushed her. Rico's hand, old as she is, as much as she clearly cares about those around her. And in that moment, you understand why you made this choice. And then you squeeze Rico's hand, and you wake up. What? That ends, but I wasn't done. I mean, that's a pivotal moment, yes, but I still wanted to help Lem. And Mina. I wanted to help find out what happens with Ankita and the ambergris. I wanted to deal with those Conway bastards. Maybe even find some way to further reduce SNARP's influence in the station. They shouldn't end the game there. Heck, they even have an endgame thing with the refugee flotilla. It's specifically late game content, even tells you it. I haven't engaged with it yet. You better let me load the save back up and explore that. Now, in case this is the end of the save, in case it won't let me continue, this video is coming to an end regardless. It's gone long enough that I'm going to need to cut it in a second. I'll let you guys see if this can continue or not. And break into, another video later if there is one. I wish you all the best. Oh, thank goodness. Sleeper. Rico's voice comes wavering through the dark. Are you still with me? Maybe it's there in case you take the other choice. You sit up. The lab of bright green glare that fades as you gather yourself. I'm here. Rico smiles. Good. Don't want to leave her waiting there. She squeezes your hand. I thought you left me for a moment. What? She pauses. Who? She smiles. Tell me about it. Tell me everything. Tell her the truth. She deserves to know. You tell Rico everything. You tell her about the gardener. That strange farm, Mr. AI, that has grown to be so much more. About the course. That impossible configuration of network plans. And finally about the choice the gardener offered you. She listens attentively, but her responses are hard to read. And you wonder if she might have made a different decision had she been in your place. Thank you, Sleeper, for telling me. I know it isn't easy to say such things. People so often do not wish to hear strange truths. She looks away. And thank you for returning to me. Though I know you had your own reasons. She was one of them. She squeezes your hand reassuringly. Something passes between you then. A kind of shared sadness for the impossible choice. The choice to escape your body. Or to stay and suffer it. It's familiar to someone like me with long COVID. Every day is suffering. The way my body is now. And yet, I shall endure as long as possible until the heart disease that comes with long COVID very often, or strokes, premature strokes, kill me in my 30s or 40s, maybe, if I'm unlucky, or until there's a cure. Anyways, the impossible choice, this choice to escape your body or stay and suffer it. Her smile is warm and generous. Whatever the wisdom of your choice, you're glad to feel welcome in this moment, in this place. Then suddenly, she stands and walks a little way, as if trying to escape an unpleasant thought. You worry that she knows all too well what it takes to make a choice like you did. Rico sighs. So, sleeper, do you plan to stay in the commune with us? Yeah. Doesn't mean I won't help others. I plan to. I'm glad to hear it. Rico crosses back over to you and takes one of your hands in both of hers. Haifa needs new blood if it wants to survive. Indeed. And, she squeezes, you are a good friend. The feeling is mutual. Well, don't let me keep you. Rika waves you away and limps back to her terminal. As she does, you notice the crown in her hand, and she places it on the bench with great care. You can't help but feel a little curious about what she intends to do with it. She may try it herself. She has lived a very long life. She's close to death. It would be far less of a tragedy at her. God, she must be like 120. She's not really cutting her life short. Sleeper could probably live decades, maybe depending on if sleeper's age, hundreds of years. It's different. There are people who need him. Lemon Mina, Emphas, and Kita, or by Sabine. Fang, I think it was, the techno geek who's gonna hack Conway. Then you're out, breathing the air of the Greenway, fresh as a spring morning. The dappled light makes a patchwork of the green landscape, and you walk into it, sensing the movements of the gardener's chorus all around. And you're glad to be here, in this strange and beautiful place, a little longer. It is beautiful. I like the idea of green spaces in space. I do hope if humanity ever sets up like large orbital stations, we're talking like O'Neill cylinders, which break no laws of physics, can be done with current technology. Massively expensive with current technology, but doable. Cheaper than the amount that the world spends on military spending, at least over a couple decades. And as you do this, their returns allow more of them to be constructed by growing the world economy greatly. I hope that there will be green spaces in these stations. Greenery, life is a fundamental part of what it means to be human. We need it for our sanity, for our health, for connections. So I do hope. And if you ever come and watch me play Stellaris, I haven't started Let's Play on that yet, but I will. Maybe I'll pick up from my current save, which I'll probably run with for many, many months more. Before they reform the habitat system, where I can just put out tons of habitats and ring worlds and densely populate the galaxy with these. Spend most of it as vassals, so I don't have to directly manage it. It's too stressful for me with my long COVID. Tiring to keep track of that many things. Independent nations within a federation. I think United Federation in Star Trek, or hegemony, something less equal, to be able to maintain, among other things, a strong military to ward off outside aggression. But anyways, I'm planning to sit in the home system, gardening on some of these habitats, and maybe a few ring worlds, teching and other things. But there will be garden spaces in space. Some point, for roleplay reasons, it won't even make sense in the game. It doesn't matter. I think it's an engaging, interesting concept. Remind me of that if I decide to put that game on a Let's Play, or if I just eventually update to a new version of Stellaris, a new save. Greenery in space. It's important. It's cool. Anyways, this video's gone too long. Anyone who's still watching, you must be exhausted. Quickly pop in and out of here in order to save things. That's not updating stuff, you know. There's Yadian. I want to get some Havnage data. I'll just do that real quick. I'm trying to do something that might cause the game to save. I'm not sure it did before. Oh, there was the autosave button. Alright. Then that's it. I'm going to exit out of the game here in a second. I wish you all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. And may you always find a guiding star to lead you home. Adieu. Till next time.